Welcome to my third video of the Matcha Brokerage Review Series, where I talk about and review my experiences with various online business brokerages. This video focuses on what it is like to sell with Empire Flippers to help you know what to expect. In this video, I'm going to go in depth in regards to what it's like to working with them as a seller. If you are a potential buyer, then you can go to my next video that talks about what it's like to work with Empire Flippers as a buyer. Again, this video is exclusively focused on the seller's point of view. All right, so here's what we are covering today. Who is Empire Flippers? What businesses can be listed? What's the listing process like? Pricing multiples fees, how long it takes to sell, prospective buyers and negotiations, the migration and escrow process, the pros and cons of Empire Flippers, and finally, my recommendation. Are they worth using? And if so, who should be using them? Before we begin, my name is Colin Ma. I run Matcha Business LLC. I'm an entrepreneur and SEO of 7 years, and I specialize in acquiring and selling digital assets for myself and clients. If you want to learn more about me, you can go to my website or you can go to my dedicated about video, which will be in the description below. All right, so about Empire Flippers. Empire Flippers, I'll also call them EF, was founded in 2013 by CEO Joseph McNaughty and COO Justin Cook. They originally started selling their own made for AdSense websites, but found that they were actually better at selling sites than they were at creating them. Today, they are one of the largest and fastest growing brokerages, not only in staff, but also in businesses listed. Additionally, they run EF Capital, where they work with vetted operators and investors to buy sites off of their marketplace. Basically, investors put up an amount of money, vetted operators will put some as well, and together they buy businesses from Empire Flippers. I believe the service does have a little bit of a conflict of interest, but for the most part, it doesn't affect us too much. Competitors. So here on the left, we have the most similar. On the right, we have the least similar. This isn't perfect, but this is what I think is a good representation of who I think is most similar to Empire Flippers. I list both brokerages and marketplaces in here because they are very similar. And at the end of the day, you're going to go to either and look at either to buy a business. All right, listing your business. What type of business models do they accept? Empire Flippers pretty much takes any type of online business, from SaaS to e-commerce to content to digital service. However, they don't really have SBA eligible businesses. Technically, they can list them, but they don't have any feature support that marks them as SBA enabled, and they typically don't offer SBA support. An SBA business is essentially a business that is under a registered company that has been profitable for about 2 years or more. It actually lets buyers get very favorable loans to acquire these SBA eligible businesses. So it essentially expands your buyer pool. What size of businesses they accept? They are a little less accommodating here. So for content businesses such as affiliate or advertising, they need at least 6 months of history where each month is $500 or more of profit. Buyers of AdSense sites additionally need to already have an AdSense account because migration is a pain. For other business models, dropshipping, e-commerce, SaaS, basically everything else, Empire Flippers needs to see 12 months history of 1,000 plus month profit. The listing process. So overall, listing process takes anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks. It could take longer if you're not really on top of your documentation and you don't respond quickly. But basically, the process is you start here at this URL, and you provide some basic information about your business, the model, URL, data formation, income levels. And it should take about 5 to 10 minutes if you have everything documented. But if you don't, this could easily take probably closer to half an hour to an hour. So once that's done, you'll be contacted with a preliminary valuation. If you want to move forward with listing it, you will supply a monthly profit and loss income statement. You'll also provide access to third-party metric platforms such as Google Analytics, Clicky, HubSpot, whatever you use to track traffic or any other data metrics on your website. Finally, supporting documentation for business and financial claim, They'll ask for screenshots and videos of earnings from the various sources, as well as proof of ownership of the domain name. Finally, once that is all done, they will provide a finalized valuation. And if you approve, the listing will go live the following Monday. So the key here is to document any business or website that you plan on selling, because when you do it all at once, it is a huge pain in the ass. So what's the pricing, multiple, and fees like? So Empire Flippers definitely caters towards sellers, and to get more listings, they have among the highest multiples in the business, right? If they tell you they're going to list your business for $100,000, while other brokerages might list your business for $85,000, of course you're going to go with the brokerage that lists your business for $100,000. Exactly how much they're going to list it for, they apply a multiple based off of the average monthly earnings, usually 6 months or 12 months. And the multiple is going to be based on the earnings, model, trajectory, diversity of income, etc. And remember, Empire Flippers actually represents you. So the more money you sell for, the more money they make. So it's listed. Now what? Do you just pick your nose? Do you just sit and chill, watch some Netflix? Well, kind of. How fast it sells now is more or less out of your control. How long it takes to sell a business really depends on various things, such as the niche, size, business model, and luck, to be honest. Smaller sites, you can expect to move as fast as 1 week to a few months. Low 6 figures to mid 6 figures, 1 to 6 months. Mid 6 figures to high figures, 2 to 6 months. And 7 figures and up, typically 3 to 9 months. This is based on my anecdotal evidence and not based off of any data that Empire Flippers has provided. So at this point, Empire Flippers has your business listed. Any interested party will be able to see the listing page. They're going to be able to actually unlock the page. And once a listing is unlocked, they'll get an email that gives them information about the P&L, seller's interview, if there is any, proof of earnings, and they will be added to Google Analytics. Now, at this point, Empire Flippers doesn't provide as much info as FE International or Quiet Light Brokerage, but they are much faster because this step is automated, whereas with FEI and Quiet Light Brokerage, they actually have an agent send that information manually. So once potential buyers do get that information, they'll talk to Empire Flippers to ask questions, and if they want to set up a call. And Empire Flippers will be there for the call and facilitate it so that they can kind of keep things moving along and make sure the important things are talked about between you, the seller, and any potential buyer. Now, the call is not a place for negotiations. That will be done afterwards via emails or just via emails in general, even if there is no call. Once an offer is accepted and there is no counter offer, they begin the escrow and migration process. However, if an offer for less than the listing price is accepted, then anyone who unlocked the business before that person can counteroffer with a minimum counteroffer of 10% or more of the initial offer. So basically, it just helps you get more money. Buyers can actually skip the negotiation process if they want to just wire the full listing price to purchase the business, which is as good as it gets because you can't sell your business for more than the listing price. So once it's sold, what happens next? Well, we go into migration and escrow. Escrow is in quotes because Empire Flippers does not actually have or is not actually a licensed escrow, but they work internally to provide the equivalent. So first, the migration is kicked off via email by the migration team. And then at this point, you can set up an individual asset purchase agreement via lawyers, or you can just use their terms by default. Personally, I've set up asset purchase agreements before, but with Empire Flippers, I just use their user agreement typically. So from there, as a seller, you're going to start filling out the migration document that has information about the hosting, social media apps, any accounts that are going to transfer over to the buyer. And Empire Flippers helps you a lot along this process. with not only transferring the accounts, but also providing video instructions on how to do certain things, like providing access and the migration process. So it makes it a lot easier than just a list of steps, because you have this video right in front of you that you can follow. Unfortunately, I have heard a few horror stories about poorly handled migrations with sites around Ezoic specifically. This has happened to 2 individuals that I know of, but I do not know how often this happens. Amazon affiliate sites are very straightforward with the Empire Flippers team because they do so many, and typically they are quite easy. Now, distribution and wrapping up the deal. So the deal will complete if 50% of the threshold of earnings prorated across 14 days is met, or if the buyer feels that the business was grossly misrepresented, they can also cancel the deal. And as a seller, you can choose how you get paid out. You can accept Bitcoin, ACH, wire transfers, OFX, and TransferWise. How much are you paying Empire Flippers? So the way it's calculated is based off of the sales price. So here we can see how it's set up. So the first, basically $700,000 is subject to a 15% commission. The next 700,000 to 5 million, 8%, and then 5 million and up are subject to 2.5%. If you have a business that sells for $800,000, the way it's calculated is 15% of the first $700,000, and then 8% of that last $100,000, which is $700,000 to $800,000. I'm not going to do the math. I can't do the mental math right now, but that gives you an idea of how much you can expect to pay in fees to Empire Flippers. So summary and ultimately my recommendation. So what I like about Empire Flippers, one, they have great communication with their global team because they are all over the world. When you have an email, when you have a question, they're going to get to you pretty quickly. Another thing is, because their team is so large, they have very good operations and standard operating procedures. So things are done very consistently. They have nice documents, nice checklists, nice videos to help you along every step of the way. They also have a consistent release schedule. This is helpful because buyers will know that whenever Empire Flippers has a new listing, they will list it that following Monday morning in Pacific time. And finally, they have a huge pool of buyers, which is great to know if you're trying to sell your business. The more likelihood your business is going to sell quickly and for a higher price. What I don't like about them. The thing is, they do have so many listings. Being one of the bigger brokerages, you kind of feel like a cog in the wheel because they work with so many sellers. There's not a lot of personal contact with the team, and they don't really get to know you as some of the other brokerages like Quiet Light Brokerage or FE International do. They also have high multiples. As a seller, this can be really good, but the listing price can be deceptive as Empire Flippers kind of reels you in with a high listing price. But in my experience, very rarely does the listing price get met. Usually you are negotiated down for what is considered to be closer to market prices. And finally, there's a lot of window shoppers for smaller content sites. It's a product of being one of the largest brokerages in that there are a ton of people looking at these websites. And especially if you have a smaller content website, understand that your URL is going to be looked at a lot by people who don't really have intention to buy. With this in mind, do I recommend them? Yeah, you should definitely use them. They're an established team and one of the most used brokerages in the business. They're a great choice for new and experienced sellers because they have top-rated SOPs and are the only ones with video SOPs that help the sellers view across every step of the way. Now, they're not for everyone. First of all, they are only good for profitable businesses. If your business is not profitable, you probably want to sell on micro acquire. That said, they are the best choice, in my opinion, for low to mid-market e-commerce and content businesses. They have each category over 40 listings as of right now. And so there are going to be a lot of buyers as well. They have a lot of e-commerce and content businesses listed and a lot of content business buyers for sure. I can't speak personally to how many e-commerce buyers they have, but with content businesses, I know they are one of the best brokerages to work with and where I would sell my site if I was listing my content business. However, if I had a profitable SaaS business, I would sell that with FEI. If it wasn't profitable, again, I would just sell that on microacquire. Thanks for checking out this video. I hope this review of Empire Flippers has been really helpful. This is based off of my own experience, and your experience may vary. But if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, put them in the comments or at me on Twitter at Colin L. Ma. Thanks for watching.